Alright, everybody, we are back with another episode of season 2 of the Afflatus. On today's episode, we have someone who has deeply inspired me and fundamentally altered the course of my life. 5 years ago, when I was still living in Mumbai, I stumbled upon a video called New York from Every Angle. The video was so well produced and edited that it made me fall in love with the city, and in that moment, I decided that one day I'll live in New York. The video was shot by Salvatore, who is a photographer and a videographer based in New York City. In this episode, Sal talks about being a Sony Alpha ambassador, the value of education in the context of creative arts, and reviving dormant projects during quarantine. So sit back, relax, and explore the amazing journey of Salvatore Dalia. Welcome to the show, Sal.
Thank you very much.
Great. So, what's your story?
I grew up in Italy, born and raised, and I graduated in cinema and TV in Milan. And then I met my wife. At that point was a girlfriend in a university. We came to New York on vacation, and she got picked up from a dance company in New York, and our vacation became on find an apartment, find a job. And after 1 year long distance relationship, I moved to New York, and I've been here for 10 years now.
That's the exciting thing about New York is that there are so many things happening, and there is so much fun and excitement going around that you never know what you will connect with. And it's great that how you have transitioned and become part of this New York lifestyle. So that's great. How did your education play a role in helping you develop a career?
In my business, I would say most people didn't go to school for like cinema and TV. Most people come from like different backgrounds usually. And especially in the US, I think most people don't think that cinema and TV in college, it's actually useful for their career. It wasn't, like this for me. There are only two schools for cinema and TV, two university for cinema and TV in Italy, one in Milan and one in Rome. And honestly, it's probably the most important, learning experience of my life. That one, 3 years in college were amazing. It was very pragmatic. It was all about creating and learning how to use the tools and how to tell stories. And honestly, some of those, the things that I learned in the university are still things that I do on a daily basis for my job. Some type of like procedures and practice and type of like approach that you have to the job. So it's been extremely important.
I too felt the same, but over the years, as I have become now a full-time producer, I've learned the tips and tricks of the trade, and a lot of it has come from producing projects and working with different people and understanding their styles. For me, although the background is not strictly in film production, but because I was in finance, I understood how to manage funds and how to raise capital and how to allocate it. So that, I guess, worked out in my favor. But yeah, it's there are like two sides of the coin in this discussion. Some people genuinely feel that certain schools teach you certain things and give you certain connections which are helpful. But certain things, like certain people are like, well, I'll just do it on my own and develop my own style. So that's really exciting for me because you don't know how people have learned their craft, and when they bring their unique style to it, I think that's when it's really wonderful.
The thing with filmmaking, like the filmmaking industry, is that it's not painting. It's not something that you can do by yourself. It's something where you need a team. And most of the time, if you don't pick the right team, your project is not gonna, come out, as good as you want, because it doesn't matter how good you are, but you can make a movie by yourself. You need actors, you need a producer, you need editing, you need director of photography. You can be good and very skilled and cover multiple roles, in the production, but at the same time, you cannot do it on your own.
This should be a fun question. What's your definition of happiness?
Um, Happiness, and honestly, especially during these days, coronavirus in New York, you kind of like redefine, I think, also words like happiness. Happiness is health, is family, is anything that you can just like think, and you know that you're like in the right place at the right time.
Not a lot of people would say about themselves in that manner, because of course some people classify it as luck, that okay, I was in the right place at the right time. But if those things fall in place, then it really is something magical, because I guess in my case it was when I decided that I want to direct my film, and it just happened to be in a place where I knew someone who can put me in touch with certain people that would come on board to help me produce the film. And that was very unexpected, but I guess it worked out. So that's I think really interesting, that those things, when it happens, you feel really happy, as you mentioned. And for me, it has happened only a few times, but every time that it has happened, it's been really worth it. Speaking of family, how have the people around you, like your friends and family, inspired or influenced you?
So personally, my family, it wasn't a source of inspiration at all. I'm the only basically artist in my family, and I have a big family. I'm from Sicily, in Italy. You know, uh, so it's like we're talking about 60, 70 people gathering for like parties and birthday parties and stuff like that. So but yeah, basically nobody's actually an artist as a an art background. But what I definitely cannot thank them enough is the support. My family support has always been key for everything I've done in my life, or now my wife. But for influence, definitely I would say are my peers, my colleagues, even like other directors and filmmakers that I met like in college, and that I still kind of like follow on social media. I still follow what they do, so we keep pushing each other. And that's kind of like a key also thing in New York. New York is such a like a vibrant and city, because there are so many artists and so many people that can do the same thing that you do, if not better. So you're always basically get pushed to do more, and to kind of like pass your limit, and always kind of like never sit on whatever good you're doing. Just start thinking about the new project and how to make it better.
Yeah, and talking of big families, I also come from a big joint family in India, and I remember while growing up, my family, my cousin's family, and my grandparents and my grandparents' cousin all kind of lived under this big house, which means every time there was an event or a festival, all of these 30, 40 people would get together and have a good time. New York, of course, is a very competitive place where there are so many people hustling all the time that when you think that you have done something really good, you will see some other piece of work that is nearly as good or better than you. So that becomes then source of inspiration, that yes, I need to up my game and get to that level. So that is completely correct when you mention it. So it's, yeah, I think it's great that when people help you with what you need, and more so emotionally than financially, because of course you can find ways to make projects happen, but if you don't have the emotional support, then it kind of becomes very difficult to stay on it. So yeah, it's great that you have that kind of support from your family. How would you say is your creative style different than others?
That's a hard question. I don't know honestly if my art is different from others. Like what I do pretty very well, I think, is to actually adapt to my customer. If I'm doing like a commercial, to my client, uh, or it's actually kind of like express emotion. Like I'm pretty good at that. I think that's I'm a sponge. I really kind of like see who's my audience, and I try to kind of like express, emotion and in the strongest way possible for that type of audience. I'm not one of those that has like one only specific style and only push on that one because that's me. I've always been a very eclectic, filmmaker from that point of view. You can probably see throughout my work that I'm very strong visually. Like I try to kind of like every frame, every shot has to be kind of like a masterpiece, kind of like a painting in my mind, because that's my background is in the fine arts. So you can kind of like see throughout my work that it's kind of like, that's my, let's say my fingerprint on my work. You can, recognize my aesthetic. But from a structural point of view or a stylistic point of view, I think I'm very eclectic. And I love that. Sometimes it's like you got to find your voice and be, something unique, especially in this day and age where it's very important to have a unique voice. But at the same time, since day one, I always love to do multiple stuff. I love to do music. I love to do, fiction. I love to do documentaries. So, my style is more my aesthetic than anything.
Right. Yeah. And, I've been on your website and I've been on your Instagram page, and every picture that you click is very visually striking, and you feel the impact of the colors and the shadows and the light. And it's just wonderful. And I actually, when I was before, and this is before moving to New York, when I was in India, I mean, I had not even moved to the US. I saw a video that you created called New York from Every Angle, and it was so beautifully done that it actually inspired me to move to New York. It was one of the way you presented the city. It is something that I really connected with, and I felt like, yes, like this is the place where I want to be, because all the slow motion shots and all the drone shots are, all the shots of people walking around in the city. It just reveals the character and the personality of the city. And that was really, really impactful. And so that is something that really drew me towards moving to New York City.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And that's honestly, that's a perfect example of, what my style is like. It's not a unique point of view of someone even living in New York. My goal is to catch basically as many people as possible to look at my video and say, I recognize that city. I've been there for like one day, or I've been there for 20 years, and I recognize moments, of that city. So that's kind of like my goal. Even technically, that's the way that I made it. I shot that video with 7 different cameras. I flew on a helicopter to do the aerial stuff. Then I used a GoPro in the subway. So, it doesn't even matter, like, the type of gear that you're using, because that's New York. It's a mix of everything. It's a mix of races. It's a mix of emotions. It's a mix of poor people, rich people. So it doesn't matter what camera you're using. If I'm using like a $30,000 camera or a $20 camera.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the best videos that you have produced, at least from my perspective.
You gotta wait for the next one, because I just finished, not just finished, like last year I produced a short movie called New York Rhapsody, where we basically got for 2 years the rights for Rhapsody in Blue by Gershwin. So it's a 12 minutes short movie, all in black and white, about New York and about these 3 creative people in New York. And we won around, I think, 20 awards around the world: London, San Francisco, Vegas. And now I think mid-May, the company that I work with, Adorama, they're gonna publish the short movie, for free to watch, for everybody to watch on YouTube. So you're probably gonna love that one if you love that video.
There's another thing before we move on to next question that I saw on your Instagram profile, is that you are a Sony Alpha ambassador?
Yes, correct.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Basically, many years ago, I started working, for YouTube channels, doing original content. Even this was before Google, bought YouTube. So when YouTube was only like, videos of like cats and other stuff like that. So, then, of course, Google bought YouTube. So a lot of like money started coming in to create original content for YouTube. And I started working for Adorama, which is this, retail company in New York selling professional gear for photographers and filmmakers. And I started to kind of like, grow my social account and started to actually get in contact with all these photographers and the Instagram community on, especially in the US. And a bunch of these photographers that I met were Sony. So then Sony basically created this Alpha Collective, which is, a collective of photographers that are mostly on Instagram, like social media, but, even more than that. And I was basically the first filmmaker that they approached to be part of this collective. I would say 90% of the collective are photographers. There's only a few of us that are like, filmmakers first and then maybe photographers. So I was lucky to kind of like, be the first one that Sony approached. And now I've been with them for 4 years. So, I'm a Sony shooter. I use Sony a lot in my work. And now I'm an ambassador for them.
Perfect. Great. When was the last time you tried something for the first time?
So the last time that I tried something for the first time was last night, because my wife tried to do a malt lava cake without sugar. And that was probably also the last time that I'm going to try that.
I thought you were going to say last night your wife tried to give you a haircut.
No, I'm gonna leave my hair grow as much as possible before I go back to a haircut. I'm not
Right.
I'm not trying anything like that at home. Yes, don't try that at home.
I was also in the same dilemma that like, should I try cutting my own hair? I'm like, you know what? I would rather grow out my hair for a few months rather than experimenting with it. So
I'd rather
yeah,
go back to like a ponytail that last time that I had, I think was 16 years old, and then trying to cut my hair at home. Yeah, definitely. That's not going to happen.
Given this pandemic, it's like it has given me more time to kind of to hone my ideas and see where I can go with them. So there is a book that I'm trying to write, which is essentially the collection of short stories and poems, which I've been thinking of writing. And I began writing it, but it was something that I kind of lost touch with it, because when you are running a company, it's always like, something or the other comes up where either you have to do a project for clients or you have to produce your in-house content, and that kind of takes up a lot of time. So you don't have time to sit and marinate your ideas and see what you can do with them. But now that I've had some time, I've been focusing on that and trying to get it done. Yeah, I think between lava cake and
well, I mean, on that line, to be a little bit more serious, especially during the quarantine, I've been doing this job for like I think 14 years now, and I actually never shot, made a video with my daughter and my wife. So because of the quarantine and because of my job, I decided to make a little short movie. It's like 2 minutes. But the only actors that I have are my wife and my daughter. So I made a little short movie here at home with them, and it's been amazing. It's now live on YouTube. It's called Create No Matter What by Adorama, and it's been an amazing experience. And that was the first time actually that I shot with my wife and my daughter.
What kind of impact would you like to see your work have on people?
Well, I think I'm lucky enough that I see already some of the impact that my work is doing, and honestly that's one of the best thing ever, because of course I do this job, and I started this job for like personal pleasure, because I always love to just like tell stories and create making like movies or making photos. But now social media especially, you get that instant reward through comments, and you see so many people loving your work and keep asking you for more, to create more. And then, and that's amazing. That's something that I really love about the modern age, of filmmaking, that kind of like an instant gratification and getting pushed to kind of like, keep working on whatever you're doing.
I think that's how it is for a lot of people in media as well, where you kind of start doing it because for the love of it, and then it evolves into something bigger. This podcast was purely for me to just share the stories of people that I feel are doing really well and could inspire other people, and just talking to them and understanding their mindset. That was the whole seed of idea. I would like to say that you have certainly inspired me to kind of have a certain kind of artistic understanding of how to use visual images to convey a message or a story. And it's apparent in everything that you do. So the way you have designed your website and the way you shoot your pictures, I think that thing kind of jumps out. Like, you instantly connect with it. And even the pictures of places that you have never been, you are able to kind of show the side of those things that instantly kind of connects with you. And I think in that way you have certainly kind of made a difference in what I aspire to be in terms of a visual storyteller. So yeah, I think I'm sure, of course, you have inspired a lot many other people, but since I have the opportunity to share this with you right now, I would like to say at least there's one person who has had, been really
Thank you,
inspired.
thank you. I really appreciate that. I mean, I would say that the biggest work that I've done so far, it's my web series called Through the Lens. It's 93 episodes. They're all 5 minutes each, and they're like short stories on Instagram photographers. And I have a big crowd behind these episodes, and I got so many comments, and most of my, I would say, social media presence is it's from those episodes, because I kind of pushed people to don't give up on their photography dream, on their artistic dreams in general. And a bunch of these photographers that I feature, maybe they're first grade teachers, engineers, doing something else that has nothing to do with photography, but their love of photography kind of pushed them and got them like a new business and a new life.
That brings us to the last question. What's next? What are the exciting ideas or projects that you're working on? And what can the listeners expect from you going ahead?
Well, I mean, COVID-19 definitely stopped many projects, put a bunch of projects on hold. And of course, budgets now are gonna be an issue for the next few months to kind of understand what's doable and what's not. But I was working actually on season 7 of my show Through the Lens. I basically only shot 5 episodes, and I was supposed to shoot 10 more episodes. But of course, that involves traveling and other stuff. So we'll see how that goes. I hope I can get back to that. And my company Adorama will publish my short movie New York Rhapsody soon, and a new commercial that I shot for them. And those are gonna be, they were a big part of my work last year. So I can't wait for that one. So yeah, basically, project is kind of to see how everything goes with budgets. Try to support my community, filmmakers and photographers, to highlight what they do, and to try not basically to give up or slow down despite COVID-19.
Yeah, it has certainly affected my filmmaking ventures as well, where we were in the process of developing. We had already developed a short film and we were supposed to shoot it, but because now everything is shut down, we'll have to wait until life goes back to its normal routine to do that. And that's the reason I'm kind of now investing all my time that I have either in writing screenplays or ideas for filming, or doing a lot more podcast episodes. So it's one way to kind of prepare for when life goes back to normal and you can jump right into it. But yeah, I think it's exciting that you have all these projects coming up, and I'm certainly looking forward to New York Rhapsody. So yeah, that's great. Yeah, I hope that all your projects are successful and all your dreams come
Thank
true.
you very much. I really appreciate that.